Chapter 13, Void at the Center. Widening gradually, trail welcomes first signatures of human presence. Paths multiply, branch, converge, concentric circles drawing inward toward civilization's pulse. Gravel announces itself beneath boots, each step a punctuation in Earth's ancient syntax. Sprawl hums differently here. Not wilderness's unconscious rhythm, but something translated, electrical systems and communication networks externalized into audible presence. Financial markets pulse invisibly overhead through satellite connections, sharing fundamental frequencies with geological shifts and cosmic expansion. Technology merely gives voice to what consciousness has always intuited: reality, fundamentally relational, network-based, interconnected beyond conventional perception. Psychosis, if such clinical terminology applies, merely glimpses deeper integration normally filtered from awareness. Sprawl overwhelms precisely because education provides no framework for processing such raw perception. What if madness exists not as break with reality, but as excess of it? Consciousness drowning in significance too abundant for conventional expression, perception without adequate language. Spirit willing, flesh weak. Christ's recognition of biological systems' inherent limitations. Parabolic speech adapting transcendent perception for human cognitive constraints. Truth parceled into digestible segments rather than overwhelming in raw form. Gravel shifts reconfigures with each footfall, seemingly random arrangements encoding patterns beyond immediate comprehension, like stars forming constellations only when viewed from sufficient distance. Negative capability emerges here at intersection of known and unknown. Keats understood this essential capacity, being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without irritable reaching after fact and reason. Mountain teaches precisely this surrender to vastness. Void beckoning at Brother's absence reveals itself not as nothingness, but plenum. Not absence, but superabundance, collapsing conventional categories of understanding. Dirt path transitions to gravel road. Translation rather than progression. Geological giving way to ecological giving, way to sociological. Each system maintaining distinctiveness while participating in shared processes. Emergent properties at every level echoing Christ's leaven, working simultaneously through multiple dimensions of reality. Hum intensifies electrical systems, communication networks, financial flows converging into a unified field of information. Consciousness recognizes kindred vibration, external manifestation of internal processing, both encoding meaning through rhythmic transmission, pattern recognition, signal integration. Boots strike gravel, sound propagates through interconnected systems, air molecules, auditory nerves, cognitive processing, demonstrating fundamental relationality underlying separate phenomena. Nothing exists independently. Everything emerges through relationship, context, connection. Path widens further, space opening, not merely in physical dimension, but perceptual field, consciousness expanding to accommodate increasing complexity of human engineered environment. Natural and artificial, merging at edges, boundaries revealing themselves as conceptual rather than ontological. Systems thinking replaces linear causality. Networks supplant hierarchies. Static objects dissolve into dynamic relationships. Kingdom of heaven indeed, like leaven, transformative agent working simultaneously across multiple dimensions, visible only through effects rather than direct perception. Empty space between physical objects reveals itself as a field of potential. Void not as absence, but pregnant possibility. Superabundance rather than lack. Eastern traditions recognize this paradox. Emptiness, shunyata, meaning not non-existence, but interdependence. Lack of independent, inherent existence, simultaneously affirming universal interconnection. Gravel crunches rhythm against silences, binary code of presence, absence, encoding meaning through pattern rather than substance, information emerging from relationship rather than isolated elements. Tao unnamed remaining eternal precisely because reality exceeds all conceptualization. Wind moves invisible through branches, audible only through interaction, present only through effect. Christ's observation resonates. Wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of spirit. Spirit, like quantum reality, defying conventional categories of location and trajectory. Trail narrows momentarily through dense growth before opening again toward human habitation. Constriction and expansion mirroring consciousness itself, attention focusing and widening, concentrating and diffusing according to perceptual needs rather than arbitrary preference. Blessed indeed are poor in spirit, those emptied of conceptual constructions, willing to be filled with perception beyond individual identity. Not material poverty, but perceptual openness, willingness to encounter reality without imposing predetermined frameworks or expectations. Hum differentiates into discrete frequencies, electrical systems, separating into identifiable sources, components of unified field revealing themselves as distinct yet interconnected, unity containing multiplicity, multiplicity expressing unity. Technological networks merely externalize what consciousness intuited, reality fundamentally interconnected beyond sensory perception. Modern communications making visible what mystics glimpse through contemplative practice. Same essential truth translated across different systems of understanding. Gravel transitions to paved surface. Another boundary crossed, another system entered. Translation rather than progression, each medium encoding the same fundamental reality through different material expression. Message unchanged despite changing medium. Madness as excess rather than deficiency. Perception overwhelming rather than insufficient. Too much reality rather than too little. Conventional education providing no framework for integrating such abundance. Consciousness drowning in significance, seeking adequate expression. Path reveals human habitation ahead. Transition imminent between wilderness and civilization, though fundamental processes remain unchanged. Geological, biological, technological systems all express the same essential patterns through different material substrates. Christ's leaven working simultaneously through multiple dimensions, transformative agent, invisible except through effects. Negative capability emerges as essential survival trait. Capacity for being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without irritable reaching after fact and reason becomes prerequisite for integrating overwhelming perception. Mountain teaches precisely this surrender to vastness beyond conceptual containment. Electrical hum carries information, encoded meaning transmitted through vibrational patterns. Consciousness recognizes kindred process. Internal thoughts transmitted through neurological frequencies. External networks mirroring internal ones. Macrocosm reflecting microcosm. Void at brother's absence reveals itself not as emptiness, but fullness, too abundant for conventional perception. Not nothingness, but plenum, overwhelming established categories. Paradoxical nature of reality asserting itself through apparent contradiction. Boots strike rhythmic pattern against gravel, percussive code communicating presence through sound, information emerging through relationship between impact and surface, movement and resistance, action and reaction. Spirit willing indeed, yet flesh constrains. Biological systems imposing limitations on transcendent perception. Parabolic speech, necessary adaptation for human cognitive boundaries. Truth presented in digestible segments rather than overwhelming raw form. Trail widens toward final approach. Civilization's perimeter now visible through thinning trees. Transition imminent between systems, translation between languages of being. Hum resolves into distinguishable components: electrical systems, communication networks, transportation infrastructure, unified field differentiating into identifiable frequencies while maintaining essential interconnection. Consciousness sways between perception modes, individual identity dissolving into relational field, then reforming. Boundaries between self and environment revealing themselves as permeable, contextual, rather than absolute. Path delivers to threshold between wilderness and civilization, emptiness and form, individual and collective. Negative capability sustains through transition, capacity for being in uncertainties without grasping after premature resolution. Reality fundamentally relational, network based, interconnected beyond conventional categories. Modern technology merely externalizing what consciousness always intuited through mystical glimpses and psychotic episodes alike. Void at center reveals itself not as absence, but superabundance, not emptiness, but fullness exceeding categorical containment, paradox at heart of existence, both and rather than either or. Trailhead looms, perception sways between systems, translation ongoing, spirit willing, yet flesh constrained, void pulses, not with emptiness, but with excess, beyond expression.